Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and our Simple Abundance year with Sarah Ban Beathnach's book, Simple Abundance. It's August 24th, 2020, and today's entry is called Meditation for Bad Girls. If I wanted to get a lot of clicks on this video, I would probably name the video that, but I'm not going to do that because I think it's kind of misleading, especially because I sat down to read this one and thought it was actually going to be about meditation, and it's not. It's just a cute little title that she has. But the topic is, quote unquote, bad girls. And what does it mean to be a bad girl? And what are we taught as women about being good girls or bad girls, right? There's a lot of things that we are taught. And I think some of that is changing. Like as I was reading this, I was thinking Sarah's generation is a few before mine. And I'm sure that my experience growing up is different than hers. I do feel like there's a lot more women's empowerment now. She mentions the bad girl movement by, I know the last name is Tuttle, I forget the first name. Cameron Tuttle. Yeah, Tuttle. And then there's even the betches. It's like the word bitch, but betches. There's a whole movement and books and things like that by them. So it's, I mean, you even hear friends calling each other bitch, you know, like, you go bitch, you know. It's just like, so it's different now than it was years ago, but there still is something suppressed in a lot of us, though, that feels like we have to do the quote unquote right thing, right? And be the woman and be the caring, understanding, quiet one, perhaps. There's so many images that we see in the media and through just learning as we grow, right, in our families, or what our mothers were expected and how they try to pass that down to us, like what's expected of us. So Sarah is encouraging us in this one to really just embrace the good and the bad, and that when we think more about strong women throughout history, like Cameron Tuttle lists off a few, like Cleopatra, Rosa Parks. She mentions Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables. So they're not all necessarily people that were actually in history, but just well-known characters. She mentions Thelma and Louise. So if we think more about empowerment in that way, and there's even a quote at the beginning that, and I'm resisting putting my glasses on and it's dark in here, but I will put them on. Embrace what makes you unique, even if it makes others uncomfortable. That's Janelle Monáe, an American songwriter and singer. Yeah. So I was just going to say that sometimes when you are this bad girl, maybe it makes people uncomfortable. But this whole journey of simple abundance is wrapped up in self-expression and authenticity. I can't even say it. So maybe you are at your core an inner bad girl. Sarah, okay, I'll put my glasses on. Sarah does say a good amount of information, and I have a little bad girl on the floor here with me, Annabelle, my kitty, about what happens if you don't embrace the good and the bad. As a quote good girl who grew up in to be a well-behaved woman, she says, I've tried to bury my passion for most of my life. But when a quote good woman snuffs out the spark of wildness she was born with, the very nature she's been endowed with, as a blessing to keep her not just alive, but just surviving, not just alive or just surviving, but thriving, she will turn her passion inward, right? And that stinks because then it's suppressed. Passion pushed down can end up dormant, eventually revealing itself through chronic depression, cringeworthy choices, debilitating illness, addiction, or a desperate measure. And again, like Thelma and Louise, right? And then she goes on to say that we shouldn't have to get a debilitating disease to actually get a new lease on life and decide that we want to go rock climbing, or I don't even know how that would be like a bad girl sort of thing, but she does use that as an example. But she's basically saying, like, don't suppress this part of you that is like, as a woman, we have these wild, sultry, sort of mysterious elements to us too. So this whole entry is about embracing that and not just trying to be the perfect person, the perfect woman, the perfect wife, the perfect whatever. It's okay to let loose. And she says also here too many women, to too many women, the least familiar part of ourselves is the girl who just wants to have fun. It's quite illuminating to discover that often what a woman calls the search for true love isn't a hankering for another person. It really turns out to be the suppressed desire to do something that she loves, something that makes her feel alive and joyful. So Sarah's tying in the good and the bad with the elements of doing what you want to do and finding the things that you love and that are going to bring you joy. And she even says in that case that, I mean, I would take that to mean that sometimes people are looking for that in someone else, when really it's like internally they just need to know what's going to make them have that in love feeling, whether there's a person there with them or not, right? So I don't have a meditation for your bad girl internal self, but it is something to think about. There's actually a funny part of this entry too, where Sarah says she was doing dishes and she was having a conversation with herself and just sort of arguing about something she was angry about and sort of like screaming up to the heavens, like, I don't want to do that and everything. And she was, I guess, watching Game of Thrones, the series, if you're familiar with it. There's a character, Khaleesi, and she was the mother of dragons, and she's a really strong woman. And so Sarah said, like, I want to be the mother of dragons, like she was just like grasping her inner Khaleesi. And she says she finished doing the dishes and brought the trash out, and then when she was coming back into her house, she saw this tiny little salamander on the outside of the door, and she was like, oh, it was like a little miniature dragon. And then she was kind of thinking, like, I don't know if I'm ready to be the mother of dragons. And she makes a joke at the end and says she's the mother of salamanders. Whatever it is that you feel like is going to harness the power. She also mentions from the Hunger Games series Katniss Everdeen, who was a very strong character in those books and in the movies, if you're familiar with them. So she wants us to know that it's okay to be a, quote, bad girl, because isn't there that quote, like, good women rarely make history? Is that what it is? So it's usually the bad girls, or what society thinks is bad, or I don't know, the movers and shakers that make history. So go make history. And it's all about being yourself too. So if you're really not a bad girl, then you don't have to be one. Just something to consider. I hope you guys are having a nice evening, and Annabelle and I will be back tomorrow for the next entry. I'll see you then.